This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, this is Kirsten Logan, the training coordinator at COVA. Thank you for joining me for a few minutes to learn a little bit more about the emergency fund we administer for crime victims. So what is the emergency fund? Technically, it's two funds. Although when you apply, you don't need to try and divide which one you're asking for assistance from. The application is a single application, and staff will decide which fund, if either or both, can help. So COVA has been administering what we call the small fund for several years, and because we had experience administering that, when some VOCA money became available a couple of years back, we were asked to administer that emergency fund, and so that is the larger circle with approximately $1 million that you see on the right. Some general guidelines. The small fund is one-time assistance of typically around $100 to $150. The VOCA fund may be able to help more than once. It's really case and scenario specific. There isn't a set amount of money. If you're assisting someone with a move and first month's rent at a new place to live, as you can imagine, that can hit a couple $1,000s pretty easily. So who can use the fund? The advocates within victim services agencies in Colorado, and the application does have to come directly from a trained victim advocate on behalf of the client you're working with. COVA does not accept applications from or speak directly with any client who's requesting assistance from the emergency fund. The crime does not have to be reported to law enforcement, and immigration status has no bearing on eligibility. This is a fund of last resort to meet basic necessities. So the application is going to ask what other resources you've already utilized or attempted to find on behalf of this person. If the crime is reported to law enforcement, we want to know that an application to crime victim compensation is completed or in the works. We don't necessarily need to wait for the next CBC board meeting in order to assist. So a key point on this is that all other options must be explored first: private insurance, any government programs, and so forth. Here's a list of our emergency fund eligible crimes. You'll see that there's overlap with both VRA crimes and crime victim compensation eligible, but it's not exactly the same. And if you've ever got a question or there are multiple crimes, just go ahead and give the office a call, and Carla and Mandy can help talk you through it. Some of the expenses that we've been able to help with or are authorized under the fund, you will see here. Utilities, not including phone. Childcare does need to be from a licensed provider or facility. When we talk about the moving expenses, please keep in mind that if we help relocate someone out of state for their safety, we will not assist that person again. So really do the work to make sure that they're ready to go, or we can go ahead and proceed with the application, get everything lined up, and if they know they have court again in 3 weeks, if they have somewhere safe here in Colorado, they can stay until that time is up. That would be another way to go about it. Please note that we will not utilize a credit card for any deposits or incidentals. So if you're applying for a hotel or a moving van on behalf of your client, someone else involved in that scenario is going to have a credit card that can be used for a deposit. When in doubt, always ask. Although this is, federal funds and we're the pass-through administrator, we do have the freedom and flexibility to consider some things on a case-by-case basis. So when in doubt, always please call and ask. The offender cannot be on the bills. If it's a joint lease, that might still be possible. Call and talk over the situation with Carla and Mandy. Okay. We don't have specific guidelines about a reasonable amount of time since the crime occurred. Our funders haven't told us that 13 days is reasonable and 14 days is not. That is considered on a case-by-case basis and what else is going on. Some of the expenses that the emergency fund cannot cover are any form of deposit and a mortgage payment. Home is considered an asset under federal guidelines, so we can help with rent. We cannot help with mortgage. Not able to cover bills that became due or were past due at the time the crime occurred, and no cash and gift cards, those can't be accounted for properly for the audit and paper trail. So some of our regulations are set in stone, others we have some flexibility. So again, always just please call with a specific scenario, or if you haven't filled in an application before, or it's been a while. Please note that the fund is for an emergency related to a crime. It is not for hardships. For example, having your hours cut at work and having difficulty making rent. So how to apply? Because the application needs to come directly from a victim advocate, we don't have it on our website. So you're going to go ahead and give COVA a call or an email and request the application, and the contact information is on the last slide. You as the victim advocate are going to make sure the victim knows what their VRA rights are and verify their name with a photo ID. Sign the application. And to ensure that your application is processed in the quickest and most efficient way, please just make sure that you've attached all necessary and requested documentation. Leases should come directly from landlords or leasing offices, and that's because the landlord should have the most updated and signed copy. If it's not signed, we're going to be back to the drawing board. Some more things to keep in mind. If you have spent money on behalf of a client in your agency, there is no guarantee that we're going to be able to reimburse that if you spent the money first and then applied. So if you're thinking of covering something on behalf of a client because you can't wait for the check to be cut, go ahead and do the application first, and if it's approved, then you'll know you'll be reimbursed. Bus and plane tickets and things of that nature, we buy from the vendor, or pay, I guess I should say, the vendor directly. Okay. Needs to be timely. And if we're paying a portion of an expense, we need to know that the remainder is going to be able to be covered. All right, let's see what we think about this scenario. A domestic violence victim is preparing to leave their abuser. They have a Section 8 voucher, have found an apartment, and are working with a legal advocate. The most recent incident was reported to police, and victim comp has been requested to assist with medical and mental health services. The application is in process. The advocate is requesting emergency funds to cover the first month's rent. Okay, so the answer is yes. As long as the deposit has been paid, COVA can pay the first month's rent directly to the landlord. A copy of the full lease with the victim's and landlord's signature and a copy of the Section 8 approval letter need to be attached. Okay, so again, because every instance is case specific, we always encourage you to contact Mandy or Carla. Give COVA a call at 303-861-1160. If it is a true emergency after hours, Mandy and Carla's after hours phone number will be on the main office line when you reach it. Thanks, and have a great day.